you think you want to know what I think it is? I think it is the government just knows they can be completely irrational and completely irresponsible in these kinds of scenarios, even the ones that they rig, because they know that people are too comfortable at home to do anything about it. And I know I've said that several times before. It's people are too comfortable at home. They can let as many people know as they want. Hey, we just killed the president. What are you gonna do about it? Absolutely nothing. You're gonna go to work tomorrow because you have bills to pay. Because we keep you just poor enough and just comfortable enough to where you won't do anything.
But I think that's one of the things too, is that it's hard to know what people can do.
And that's why they want Trump gone, is what I think. Because the economy was great when he was on. People got raises, people start making more money, new jobs, and the powers that be didn't want that to happen. Because, how are we going to keep people these comfortable? If we start taking these things away, start giving them more stuff, and we take these things away, they're going to get mad because we're taking all these things away from them, and they're going to actually do something.
Welcome to the Generation Zion podcast with Todd and David. Together, they discuss the war against God in the world today.
Welcome to the Generation Zion podcast. I'm David.
I'm Todd.
And today we're going to talk about what everyone is talking about right now. We're a little late to the party, but we did our due diligence and did our research. And what we are talking about today is the Donald Trump assassination attempt. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, whether it was an inside job conducted by our government, an inside job conducted by the Democrat Party alone, maybe a combination of both parties, the FBI, DOJ, Secret Service, what have you. Some people think that Trump himself was the one who orchestrated the entire ordeal and had someone very accurately with a red dot sight from 130 yards shoot off a little piece of his ear. There's a lot. So, and we have a lot to talk about. This might be a two-parter just because we're on a little time crunch today. We had some issues with a microphone, so we're back down to one microphone between the two of us. I was messing with it for the past hour. I wanted to show up early today, but the universe had other plans for me. So, Todd, what do you think of everything going on and surrounding this whole situation? Just what do you personally think this is?
Well, it's hard to come to a conclusion, but I can say this, is that I think there are a lot of sketchy things about this. There's nothing that to me seems cut and dried. Nothing seems to me to be as it was sort of reported on the face of it, which is just that there was a single shooter, this kid who, for whatever reason, either make a name for himself or was just disgruntled, wanted to shoot Donald Trump. There was a lot of weird things, and that's what I kind of find about all these type of events, which make me question the official narratives of all of them, because there are so many weird things. To me, the vast majority of cases that are typical cases, murder, robbery, whatever it is, are pretty cut and dried. It's not that they don't have obviously they're sketchy. That doesn't mean that they don't have some weird things attached to the people involved. But rarely do I ever read about them when they're just weird events and a lot of questions surface. It's always these type of things, these national events, that weird things start to surface. So for me, I don't know what the actual end result is. I can certainly entertain different theories, but I do think that something about this just does not smell right at all.
Yeah. So there's like I said, there's a lot of different kinds of theories. It's really hard to believe that this was conducted by the shooter himself. What was his name? I remember his last name, Crooks. We'll just call him Crooks.
Yeah, we'll just call him Crooks.
It fits. It fits. The last name fits the narrative. So, it's incredibly difficult to believe that he was a lone gunman. Well, just based on the new video alone, well, not new today, but new as of a few days ago, with another shooter. People were saying that it was another shooter on the water tower in the background. So when after Trump was shot, the figure kind of went out of view. After everything kind of started settling down, came back up into view. Maybe he was supposed to be like a backup shooter. Maybe people were saying he was the guy who actually took the shot. But if you listen to the audio and all the interviews that took place right after the shooting occurred, people were absolutely pointing in that direction where the sound was coming from. Like, it's coming from that building right over there where the shooter was. So it's easy to dismiss that one, but it's really suspicious that there was another person there. So that came out a few days after the shooting. So there were, and the Secret Service, they said apparently there was like a 4chan post of the Secret Service agent. The guy, the person who made the post was claiming to be the Secret Service agent that took the shot and blew his face off. He said that they had him in their sights for like half an hour, but they kept getting told, no, don't take the shot. No, don't take the shot. But when the firing took place, or actually occurred, he took a shot anyways, because at that point it was, his duty to do it. I mean, in my opinion, he should have taken the shot anyways. But, I'm not in that space, so I don't know how they were thinking. They were probably have an elevated heart rate and really nervous about it. Well, what if this guy isn't actually a shooter and he's just a undercover plainclothes officer or something like that? Another suspicious thing is they had them move from that roof to another roof. Like, the roof that the shooter was on was the original roof the snipers were on, and they said it was too slopey and too hot. So I found that funny. You're supposed to be Secret Service agents, I mean, I guess, it's hot. It's summer. And, Pennsylvania, right? That's where it was?
Yep.
It's hot in Pennsylvania, yeah. But you're the Secret Service. You're supposed to be protecting the president. I mean, a little heat isn't going to kill you. Just take your water bottle with you, I've been hot before. I've been a lot hotter in a lot hotter places, so...
Yeah, that kind of thing is really stunning to me because, especially heat should not be a factor, period. And then the slope roof, which you heard this Secret Service director actually reference, it made me laugh because, first off, it's not that sloped. It's a gently sloping roof at best. It is a sloped roof, but it is gently sloping. And it made me laugh to think that that there would be some official policy against sort of this slope roof. Not to mention, I saw a really funny video today that was talking about people recruiting for the slope roof team on the Secret Service. So that right there is just all bizarre. But let me ask you this: what do you think happened?
What do I think happened? Well, based on the evidence and what I know and what I think is going on in the government right now, is Trump is a candidate that can't be bought. He made it known in the 2016 election. He's making it known now. He can't be bought. He can't be controlled by donors because he's already rich, right? So he actually cares about America. This is my opinion. I think that he cares about America, and the powers that be are not very big fans of that, so they want him gone. So there was another video that was released of Janin, I'm gonna butcher this name, Digisepi, who was the assistant director, who is the assistant director of the FBI, who was thought to be this person in this video. When the shooting occurred, the woman who is thought to be the assistant director, Janine, was instead recording Trump when the shooting started, instead of ducking like everyone else did. Obviously, when you're getting shot at, you have the tendency to have that flight or fight response, and most of the time when you're not armed and someone's shooting at you, and based on what I know, you tend to try to seek cover and get away from being shot. So this person must have known something in advance if they just pulled out their phone and started recording. And funnily enough, when they actually had a Biden-Harris campaign sign that they pulled up. And as soon as they pulled it up in the stands, they were just sitting there at the bottom. They pulled up the sign, the shooting started. So thankfully, Trump turned his head at just the right moment, and it nicked his ear. I really don't care what you say. He got shot in the ear. There's plenty of ballistic test videos at this point. In less than like a week, like a dozen GunTuber channels put up like ballistic tests, see if it's possible. They even gave the benefit of the doubt and went closer. Contrary to popular belief among the left, an AR-15 will not explode your head. So, but the guy who got shot, his head definitely exploded. That was a larger caliber. I think it was must have been like a 308 or something. Blew his head off. Almost. Definitely put a big hole in it based on pictures that I've seen. But I don't think there's any way that this wasn't orchestrated at a higher level. I think that Crooks was some kind of sacrificial lamb, someone that they could separate themselves from and say, oh, this guy is a registered Republican, he owns an AR-15, he was wearing a GunTuber shirt when he conducted the shooting, so he must just be a crazy Republican. There's no way you can attach him to us because he's not even registered as a Democrat. Well, that's funny. That makes me even more suspicious, though. I just don't think there's any way. With everything I mentioned on top of, like, just the current political climate in general, I don't think there's any way that this wasn't conducted by... And Joe Biden just dropped out of the presidential election, so that's also funny. Right after this happened, suspiciously, he just tweeted, "I'm sick," and then posted a document of him basically resigning from the election. And you can look this up too. His signature does not match his past signatures. This past 5 signatures that have been posted publicly do not match excuse me, do not match his signatures in the past. You can't find anything similar to those past 5 signatures that have been posted publicly that he is, of any document he's ever signed, ever. He's never underlined his signature. But I believe this is a topic for another time, but I do think that's another suspicious item to just bring up and put into light. Some people were saying that he was nicked in the ear by like glass flying from his teleprompter in front of him. No, just no. Like, look, disclaimer, I'm not a ballistics expert, but I do shoot normally, and I know the damage different calibers can do to a person. I do my own research. I do my own ballistics research. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be, but I do like to think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these kinds of things. Just based on my experience and research alone. So what do you think it is?
Well, the thing of it is, I think it's worthwhile to go through some of these weird things. Like you mentioned that the assistant director of the FBI, if that is that lady, whoever that lady is, it is odd to watch her because you're right. She holds up a sign, and then when everything starts going, you hear the shots. Most people, not everybody, but most people are ducking. She slides down, and she does, in a sense, try to take some kind of cover, but immediately she has her phone up recording. Now, the phone up recording is not to me weird in itself, but the timing of it is weird. Like, she was ready to almost record.
Right, she had her phone.
She wasn't already recording. She was not. It would be one thing if she were recording his speech, and then it happened.
Yep, no change in facials.
She slid down.
Yep.
She certainly had incredible poise. Whoever she has incredible poise to slide down and take that. Now, that in itself is not overly weird in the sense of that there are some people who have that kind of poise, who know that something's going on. But again, to me, it was like she was ready to start filming. And that is the part of it that just sort of sticks in my craw is when you see her, she's immediately filming and not having to fumble with her phone, not having to do anything. And I don't know what phone she has. I know mine, I have to actually get into my phone first, and then I have to hit the camera. I have to hit record. I have to make sure it's on video. It automatically comes up on photo. Like, to me, I would have to be ready to record at that moment. And she does not have her phone up. So
I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks like an iPhone. Has the 3 ridiculous cameras on it. And yeah, I looked at the video. It looked like so on an iPhone you can just open the camera right from the home, like right here. I'll show you, just like right there. You tap that button, you swipe to video, and you can start recording. People who own iPhones know what I'm talking about. You can do it really quickly. So, but you're absolutely right. It looks like she was ready to go. She pulled her phone right out as soon as it started. No change in facial expressions at all. Like, if that happened, I mean, even a grizzled war veteran would be at least taken back, surprised that something like that is happening.
Also, she doesn't turn her head, that I remember. She doesn't turn her head to go look, because I feel like most people, like, when they hear something off, again, they hear the gunshots coming from the side.
Look right there.
At least turn to look. She is looking straight ahead at what she's going to film. So it is bizarre that she is ready to go, slides down in her seat so that she has the perfect ability to keep shooting. And it honestly seems like she slides down her seat after a few moments. So in some ways, it seems like either she wanted to make sure that she was, again, sort of taking whatever cover she can, or she was remembering that she had to slide down, she had to take cover, otherwise she would be sitting and be very obvious in doing so.
Right.
So it seems like there was this weirdness. So whatever was going on there, to me, that's weird. Now, I don't know if it's that lady. I know it kind of resembles her strongly. I've seen the pictures. I've seen the clear stills of the lady behind Trump, and I've seen pictures of the Giuseppe, or whatever her name is, and it resembles her. There's no identifying marks. You look at her nose or whatever, and I haven't spent the time to do that.
I'm with you on that. That it is weird that she just ducked afterwards. Like, oh crap, I got to make sure that people make this believable. Yeah. And it is hard to tell who someone is based on a blurry picture. I mean, you can see the skin tone, you can see the
you can see some
facial
clear pictures though, and she resembles her strongly. So I understand why people were making the connection.
Right.
To me, it's not like one of those times where somebody's like, oh, it's that person, and this person over here that they're pointing at has curly hair, and the other person has straight hair, or has different color hair. Not that the hair color can't change, but like, something that is obviously different, and people are just claiming it. There is, and that, again, that's one weird thing. The next weird thing is all the thing you mentioned earlier about the Secret Service moving off of that slope roof. Third thing is the fact that there were so many people that they have video of pointing at the roof and saying, "Hey, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun," and it seems like they were not taking that seriously, if you want to be generous about it, or they were allowing something to happen. One of the two. It is, again, maybe there was confusion, like you said. Maybe even in the midst of all this, there was confusion to the point where there was some idea that maybe that was an undercover cop. But you would think that Secret Service would be on top of it all. Now, again, that's assuming that Secret Service is going to be a crackerjack team. But when you have your director saying that they can't be on sloped roofs or that it's too hot for some people, then you have to question the competence in general. But I don't question the competence here. I mean, there's probably some incompetence, and I'm sure that there are some measures of people who were brought into the detail who should never have been there, but it was for quota purposes, for example.
Right, DEI.
That kind of thing. There is a measure where you could say it's incompetence, but the Secret Service, I don't think is that incompetent that there wasn't some intention to all of this.
I don't think I've even ever seen, I've never seen any pictures of the current president with any even female Secret Service agents in his midst, much less ones that are shorter than him.
Yeah.
So something's a little fishy there.
Yeah.
I think they purposely put the FBI director, whoever's in charge of them, had those DEI hires put on that detail on purpose. Like, everything's connected, I think, in some way, shape, or form. Because even if CNN and MSNBC were there recording that live. Even I thought it was weird. When I saw it, it happened I was at Chili's when it happened. Just with some friends. So I was looking at the TV and I was like, wow, CNN, that's weird. So, and then someone brought it up. I saw it online. I was like, yeah, that really is weird. I never really thought about it, but that is weird. I guess they hadn't been at any of his rallies this entire election cycle, this entire presidential cycle. That was the one they showed up.
Which, again, is weird. Is it some kind of smoking gun? No, but it's weird. It's something that is bizarre. The other thing that I just was hearing about today is the man in the gray suit. So there was this man in the gray suit, and that's all he's known of. There's pictures of him, and he's in this light gray suit. But evidently, he climbed up on the onto the roof where the dead shooter was, where Crooks lay dead, and he ordered some local law enforcement, I believe it was local law enforcement, to take pictures of the body and send it to, and he gave them this phone number. He himself did not take pictures of the body. He himself said, take pictures of the body and send it to this phone number. And then he left. They assumed that he was Secret Service, but nobody seems to know who this guy is.
I've never known Secret Service to wear gray suits.
Well, that's the thing, though. And it's a light gray suit, too. So it's not even like some dark gray suit where maybe, some higher levels are able to wear dark gray suits and the other ones will wear black, that type of thing. But he's in a light gray suit. Saw a picture of him. But this is another thing that's just weird. Why did this guy? Who was this guy? Why did he climb up the ladder, go onto the roof? Didn't even take pictures himself. Ordered the locals to, and I'm talking about the local law enforcement, to take pictures and send it to this phone. That was what they said he did.
Even the ladder,
and they did it.
The ladder itself. Why was it there? Right? You think even after changing roofs, maybe it was there already. Maybe they put it there. So they go up to that roof. Oh, this roof is too slopey and too hot. Let's go change roofs. They keep the ladder there. Whatever.
Which, again...
But why wouldn't they remove it? That's a security risk.
Exactly.
Even there were officers posted in that building that Crooks was on top of. Why didn't they respond faster when the shooting started?
Again... Just this weirdness that is this weirdness that is there. Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is to me this is the thing about all these types of scenarios is you don't have to look far to find weird things. So conspiracy theories naturally can grow from them. Now, some of them may be far-fetched. Some of them can be close to the truth. Some of them could be the exact truth. But why the weirdness? Why the weirdness? I mean, I think that you can look back on all of the major conspiracy theories in this country. And again, I want to say that it's easy to brandish something or brandish the word conspiracy theory as a weapon. And when you call something a conspiracy theory, people automatically just ditch it because they're like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, therefore it's a whack job thing. And that's not actually. There are conspiracies. And like I always say, is that everybody believes in conspiracy theories. It just depends on which ones you believe in.
Right.
The Democrats believe that 2016 election was rigged. The Republicans believe that the 2020 election was rigged.
Except there's evidence for one, none for the other.
But that's the thing, though, is that it is what you believe. And so everybody believes it. So anytime people just to call them conspiracy theories, it is a way for the media particularly to dismiss any kind of reality or any kind of weirdness. So you can say, look, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird. And instead of answering it, the media tends to just say, well, that's just conspiracy theory. That's misinformation, they're false.
You know, I really don't even like the term conspiracy theory because they usually turn out to be true. The ones that are called conspiracy theories anyways. I think we've mentioned that before.
Yeah, we have. But that's the thing here, is that you, again, that's why I just like to point out the weirdness. Now, the fact of the matter is that neither you nor I, since we weren't there, since we weren't part of the inner circle, we don't even know all the information. However, what is easily available is saying, this is weird. Why did that woman act like that in the way that she acted? It wasn't like she ducked and then popped back up with her camera and said, I want to take video of this. She was prepared to take video at that time. Why was the Secret Service moved from that roof, which was a perfectly viable roof for them to be on, if it weren't too hot and too slopey? And why was that ladder, like you mentioned, why is the ladder still there? Like, it's hard to believe that our government would be that incompetent all at once. I believe that the government's regularly incompetent, but an organization like the Secret Service is not going to be that incompetent all at once. So to me, it's hard to say, this was just happenstance. It just happened. So,
right, all these things just happen to happen at the same time. Yeah. Well, you want to know what I think it is? I think it is the government just knows they can be completely irrational and completely irresponsible in these kinds of scenarios, even the ones that they rig, because they know that people are too comfortable at home to do anything about it. And I know I've said that several times before. It's people are too comfortable at home. They can let as many people know as they want. Hey, we just killed the president. What are you going to do about it? Absolutely nothing. You're going to go to work tomorrow because you have bills to pay, because we keep you just poor enough and just comfortable enough to where you won't do anything.
But I think that's one of the things, too, is that it's hard to know what people can do.
And that's why they want Trump gone, is what I think. Because the economy was great when he's on. People got raises, people start making more money, new jobs, and the powers that be didn't want that to happen. Because, whoa, how are we going to keep people these comfortable? If we start taking these things away, start giving them more stuff, and we take these things away, they're going to get mad because we're taking all these things away from them, and then they're going to actually do something.
See, what I'm really curious is, I'm curious about how Trump would handle the next COVID-like crisis that comes up.
If
I personally don't think he handled it well before. I think that he kowtowed to Fauci. And to some extent, I understand when you're in that position, you are going with who you think is the expert at the time. The problem is Fauci was the problem. Fauci's been a fraud for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
It is not just COVID that he's been fraudulent about. That's the biggest problem. And so when Trump then not only oversaw the shutdown, the lockdowns that caused further economic problems, and really was really the first domino to fall in this recent cycle. And then on top of that, sending all the money indiscriminately to people. I mean, for example, neither Barbara and I needed that money that was given to everybody. We actually ended up giving it to people. We ended up giving it to family. We ended up giving it to friends. We didn't need that. So it was indiscriminate that the money was actually done. So for me, this is where, like, even economically, I think that the jobs I think the economy was doing really well, and then his big falter was how he handled COVID. And I understand that, again, he was in a very delicate and difficult situation. But this is where, again, there are weird parts of all this. I do think you're right in that Trump can't be bought. I don't think he has no reason to be bought.
Well, he's not a career politician. He hasn't had all those years of brainwashing and conditioning. He knows what it's like on the outside. Not to say he knows what it's like to be poor, but he knows what it is to be an American. He isn't just making money off of taxpayers. He isn't.
Right.
He's not paid by taxpayers. In fact, his last when he was president, he didn't accept any money for his payment as president. I mean, obviously, he already has enough money, but it just goes to show how much he actually cares about the United States. Not to say that all of his ideas are great, but he has his heart in the right place, is what I'm thinking. And I think that this moment alone, what happened to him, and he said it himself. Actually, I have the video, and I will play it. It's about a 44-second video of Trump saying, most of it is applause because it's at the RNC, but he essentially says that it's because of God that he's there today. So I'm just going to play that really quick.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be here.
Oh, that applause. It goes on for a little bit.
Thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God.
So, I'm hoping that, his last presidential cycle, he said that he was Christian or Catholic, something like that. But his actions didn't really reflect that, if you get what I mean. I'm hoping that this moment was in fact orchestrated by God, because it was, God absolutely saved him. Like, there's no way you turn your head at that. Just right moment, just enough pain for you to know that something was about to happen to you. But he saved your life, letting you know that, hey, I'm here. Time for you to wake up, time for you to fix things. And I'm hoping that this changes him for the better, and that he starts enacting more Christian policies. Right? So, but, the people at the RNC absolutely don't reflect that. Like, they had a porn star there, like, saying that these are my people. No, we're not your people. I don't want you there. Go away. Go back to the left where you came from. Go do your debaucherous things over there. We don't want you. We do want you to, submit to Christ, bend the knee, and repent. But I don't want you over here right now as you are in the RNC. We don't represent you. I don't want people thinking, because that's what drives people away. That kind of thing drives away people who don't actually vote. Like, people who aren't voting, they'll go, and maybe they're principled people, and they're like, I don't want to vote because I can't vote for anyone that's good for this country. And I'm a principled person. I have a set of foundation of morals that I'm not going to break just so I can vote for the lesser of two evils. And there are a lot of people that think like that. There's a lot of people that are principled. A lot of people aren't. But when these serious thinkers, these serious, like, potentially serious voters see things like that, they might have second thoughts. I don't want to be not associated with them in the sense that I don't want you to turn to Christ. I absolutely want you to turn to Christ. I want you to find the joy and the love of Christ as much as possible. I want as many people as possible to find that. But on the political stage, I do not want you to be there at the RNC saying that we represent you, or you represent us, because that's completely inappropriate and does not help our case in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's a dicey political move for those reasons you just said. That there are a lot of people, especially who would consider themselves at least sympathetic with the Republicans, if not Republicans, that are conservative. And the last thing you want is you don't want to be saying that I am I was going to say in bed with Amber Rose, but it's, right. Whatever.
What are we conserving?
Politically or not.
What are conservatives conserving?
Well, conservatives
are conserving absolutely nothing by letting those kinds of people on.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that Amber Rose or not, and there may have been others. I didn't watch the RNC, but here's what I want in our leaders. Is I want our leaders to be to adhere to the Constitution, and that's why I even think it's a dicey thing for us to necessarily put Christian stickers on things like Republicans, because I don't think that Republicans. There are plenty of Republicans who are like Amber Rose herself, perhaps. I don't know her. I saw that she had spoken, but the problem with putting sometimes these Christian stickers is the same reason I don't want our country to be, while I want it to be, we always want biblical principles to be underscore our country.
Well, it's already there. It's the foundation that built this country.
But that's the thing, though, is that what's already there, and what we really want to conserve is we want to conserve the Constitution. Now, where we will sometimes will debate others is, for example, with the idea of abortion, is when does life start? I believe it absolutely starts at conception. So it no longer becomes a political issue at that point. It becomes more of what you believe there, because the ramifications, according to the Constitution, then automatically go there, because the idea of murder is nobody's going to defend murder, which is why when the abortion topic comes up, they try to cloud and muddy the issues. So for me, I want someone like Trump to be a good executive according to the Constitution. And again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, is I think that first thing they should tear out is the executive order, because I don't believe it's constitutional. I think they should absolutely tear that out, because it allows any president to rule by fiat rather than by the Constitution. The lawmakers are the congressional, that judicial branch, the legislative branch. And I think that any president should be focused on making sure the Constitution he's leading by the Constitution. The same thing, the legislative branch should make sure that they are legislating according to the Constitution, and the Supreme Court should be doing their judicial review based on the Constitution. And that's the problem now, is if you just put a Christian sticker on it, then that's saying, oh, well, I really think that this Christian thing should be done, instead of the Constitution. And this is where freedom is at stake when we don't adhere to the Constitution. So while I certainly want to support Christians, I hope that this is a true come to Jesus moment for Trump, for his sake, and for, if he would truly would be become a Christian. If he ever was a Christian and he is now, coming back to his faith, great. If he is coming to faith because of this, great. And I think that certainly will impact the integrity that he'll bring to the executive branch.
Yep, you're on a great track there. I mean, it's pushing Christian policy, as a president is going to be difficult with how everything's changed. I mean, you got Christianity down here holding up, and since we're not recording a video, I'll explain it. It's like a little block, right? Christianity. That's the foundation of America, right? And then you got everything built on top of it. And then there's people saying, I don't like that thing. Let's take it out. You take it out, everything comes crashing down, right? It just doesn't work. But on the other hand, you can't just force these policies in, because if you force someone to be something, they're not really that thing. It needs to be willing. That's why freedom and free will is so important. Because you can't force someone. I'll just use this as an example, because a lot of people can relate to it, because essentially that's all you learn about in high school history is the Second World War. Well, just because you're German doesn't mean you're Nazi, right? Just because it forced you were born German, just because you were forced into that empire, doesn't mean you're necessarily Nazi. I mean, a lot of people these days think that, just because you were German, all of your ancestors were Nazis. That wasn't the case. But it's the same case. Not to compare Nazis to Christians or anything. We're the farthest thing from that. Just mind you, we're the farthest thing from that. Just as an example.
Here's the thing. I mean, even there, you could be part of the German army and still not be a Nazi. I mean, being a Nazi was
right. And you can go to church and not be a Christian. Yeah. Well, I go to church. I'm a Christian. Well, no, not really.
And the danger comes.
Are you virtuous?
Well, the danger comes when Christian things supersede in America. When Christian things supersede the Constitution, then that is a temporary thing, because you're essentially sharpening the other side of the sword for when you're no longer in power, because then they will say, well, you did it, we're going to do it. And that's what they've been doing the last 4 years. They did for the 8 years prior to Trump. And this is, I still go back even further when Christians themselves were voting based on their idea of morality rather than the Constitution, rather than freedom. And it's understandable that so many people think, and again, I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again, is that the smoking laws, a lot of Christians were like, smoking's bad, right. Smoking's a sin. Whether or not you think it's a sin, they thought it was a sin. Therefore, they said, well, we've got to vote against it. We need a law against smoking, because the Bible must say that smoking's a sin. Therefore, right. We should have a law against it. And the problem is always going to be is that is as far as I'm concerned, an illegal law, because it should be, and Christians should fully support saying, if you want to smoke, or if you want to have a restaurant that has a smoking section, that's your business. If I believe that it's wrong, then I don't have to go there. I don't have to do business with you.
See, you tread into dangerous water. I feel like we're getting off topic here, but I just want to put that out there. But when you're starting to take away people's rights based on your own morals and principles, you're treading into dangerous territory. Because on one hand, people aren't going to argue with things like, oh, murder is illegal, this kind of, you can't have sex with horses, that kind of thing. You can't do these things. No one's going to argue with that. But when you start treading on people's individual freedoms, that's when people start looking at you as you're not just you as an individual, but you and the organizations and religious identities you might associate with, like Christianity or anything really, paganism, what have you. And you start trying to push these ideas onto people, that they can't do these things because of your moral principles, that drives them away from it. That drives people away from God, because they're not thinking about God at that point. They're thinking of Christianity as an institution. They're thinking of it as an institution that wants to take away their rights. So it's important to speak out against these things. It's a really fine, I feel like it's a really fine line. But the reality is it's broad, and it's difficult to figure out like where your principles lie and how you're going to apply it based on how you vote and what you do in your community, and and you can't really gauge how people are going to react to it. Now, I mean, everyone's different, but again, if you got to get out there, you have to let your principles be known, let your morals be known, and speak out against these things. So, and I think what you need to focus on is bringing people to God, really, because if smoking really is a sin, I don't like smoking myself. I know a lot of smokers who have quit, and I have always encouraged them to quit. I've always prayed for them to quit, and they quit. So there's the power of prayer for you.
Well, I agree with you that our focus should be proclaiming Christ in our lives at all points. And I think that if you tie Christianity to this deprivation of constitutional freedoms, then you are going to drive people away. And not only that, but you're going to be unconstitutional as well in doing so. So you're kind of having two strikes right off the bat. I just think that, it's just, I think what it is, though, is saying a lot of Christians are short-sighted, not understanding that you may vote for laws that say, well, this promotes our specific Christian idea. And if it's not constitutional, if it's not a general law, then it's going to be turned against you at some point, because someone else is going to vote for a law that now takes away one of your rights. And that's why I think as Christians, our job as American Christians is to vote for those who will uphold the Constitution, and those also who will who have integrity. And that's where I think it's important for us to not just be knee-jerk about things. I can tell you this, is that the Democratic Party, as their platform, is not something that I can't imagine a Christian would vote for in their personal life to support. That I'm talking about a real Bible-believing Christian.
Right, none of these like grifters that are like, oh, we accept and love everyone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you should accept and love everyone, but you should also hold them accountable for their actions.
Well, people have to understand what the scriptures say and what God's own thoughts are, and that's really pulling from the scriptures. And it's not about whitewashing sin; it's about pointing out sin and being able to persuade people to point towards the truth.
Right.
But I think that's one of the dangers of Christians. They're knee jerk, and like, again, my biggest thing is for everything is when you say there ought to be a law, and whatever comes after that to me is wrong. The Constitution should guide it, and the Constitution also talks about states' rights.
Well, I believe the Constitution was built, at least in the original Bill of Rights, the original 12 amendments, right? 12, because then the 13th Amendment came around during the Civil War. Yep. Okay, so the original 12 amendments, I undoubtedly believe, are based on the Bible, are based on the Bible biblically.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're built around the Bible. And I think it's in having that freedom to come to Christ on your own and not have it forced upon you, like in England it was. Like, the church is basically the powerhouse of the country. I think it's important for that I think that's why America was so successful, because we had that freedom to come to Christ on our own and make our own decisions. Because the human spirit needs the ability to make its own decisions. I think that's why America is so successful, because of freedom, because of how we have these freedoms. So we're able to freely make that decision to go to God, because we don't feel like it's being forced upon us. Because when you, again, like I said, when you force something upon something upon someone who doesn't really believe it, you're kind of taking away the whole idea of God, at least for in Christianity's term, like with the idea of Christianity, you're taking away God from the church, and you're just using the church as an institution. That's all they see. But like I was saying earlier, if smoking really is a sin, right? Then you bring people to God, you focus on bringing people to God, and then if those people believe that smoking is a sin, they simply won't buy any smoking products, and those industries will disappear because it doesn't make money. Right? There's no need to vote for it, vote against it. There's no need to rally against it. I mean, yeah, you can have your rallies like, hey, come to God, come to Christ, rebuke your sin, that kind of thing. And then naturally it'll just go away because no one's buying it. Just like pornography. If no one's consuming pornography and everyone's Christian, it'll go away because it doesn't make money.
And that's also where the free market comes in too. I mean, because then the free market is based on how the market moves. And if money's not going to something and it's going to something else, then that is where people will go to. Anytime you put a law in place, then you're also creating that black market somewhere, because you're now depriving something of some kind of freedom. And but again, going back to the Christian's responsibility, is, I believe, the American Christian's responsibility is to vote for those who have integrity to uphold the Constitution. In the Constitution, I believe, again, the Constitution was originally written to support a constitutional republic. I think that's one of the first things that people have to understand, is that we're not a democracy, right. We're a constitutional republic. Because democracy, constitutional republic may be a form of democracy, but it is not pure democracy that everybody calls it.
Right.
It has very specific checks and balances in place because of that. And so those checks and balances actually promote freedom. Democracy doesn't.
Right, because you'll see what are they called? Indirect democracies? I'm forgetting my high school civics class. In Europe, like, they have their indirect democracy where they'll vote for someone to represent them, but that'll be like a parliament, and that parliament will answer to the EU. But in the United States, we have our state level, we have our city level, we have our state level, we have our and we have our federal level. Right, and that federal level has checks and balances. They have the judicial branch, executive branch, and last one, legislative branch. Right. It's not like any other system ever seen in the history of mankind anywhere else in the world today. It's very specific. A constitutional republic, I believe, is very specific, and a lot of people get that wrong.
It is,
and a lot of people don't vote in their state elections, in their state and city elections. They don't. Well, that's something I'm guilty of in the past. Yeah. Like, me just becoming an adult not too long ago. Like, I'm 21 right now, so I've only been an adult for a few years now, and I'm guilty of it. I didn't even know I could do that until I became an adult. I was like, oh shit, I need to vote in my state and city, and I haven't been able to do it. Because every time it happens, it's just not like, it's not very well known. It's not like it's made like general knowledge to the public. The media doesn't cover it so much as they do the presidential. And
well, they don't. And many times people don't know.
It's something that you need to keep your eye on. A lot of people don't do that.
Well, and this could be a whole other thing, is how some of the policies that some of the World Economic Forum and some of the Marxist policies have now been pushed down to even local levels. And so paying attention to your local rulers are actually sometimes more important than your national rulers. So, but I going back all the way to the Trump assassination attempt.
Right. No, I think it's good that we can get off track a bit. I mean, I did say, hey, we're getting off subject here a little bit. Well, I think it's good to expand on that. We said that I hope this is Trump's coming to Jesus moment. And then we got into that. I think it's good that we do those things. And I'm not going to edit this part out. I think it's good just for anyone listening to know, like, it's a good thing we do that. It's nice to divide up the topics and, like, go over here a little bit, go over here a little bit. And we can expand, like, so it's not boring, you know?
Well,
not that what we're talking about is boring, but it provokes thought.
But I think that the one thing I think that Christians should be paying attention to now, like you pointed out with that clip, like how is Trump reacting to it himself, and is that legitimate? Is that because, again,
the man was smiling the whole time? I think God had his hand on his shoulder.
Well, that obviously is the case, that it was providential that he was saved given the whole circumstances. But you look now, and it's easy for Christians then to, and then this is one of the biggest problems I have, not with Trump. I like Trump. I don't kind of whitewash some of the things that, like I mentioned earlier, like his handling of COVID, for example. That whole thing.
Well, it's hard to. I want to play the devil's advocate in that scenario, because it's hard when one side is telling you one thing, another side is telling you another thing. You got to listen to this guy, but you don't want to listen to that guy actually because of this, that, and the other thing. And just being the only there haven't been any other pandemics of that scale. As fake as people say that COVID was, I mean, even on the fake scale, it was still massive.
Well, I think it was a difficult thing. So I'm sympathetic to the fact he was in a very difficult and delicate position.
He's the only president that probably handled something like that. I don't think we've had, like I said, I don't think we've had a pandemic that big ever in the history of this country.
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong.
You go back to the Spanish flu, and they did some things similar in some ways.
Right, Spanish flu, polio, right? That was a thing.
Spanish flu was 1918 when it happened. But the thing of it is that I understand some of what it did. So, but my point is that I don't. My point is I like Trump. I'm not against Trump. I think that he has flaws, and that's the point, is that I think there are a lot of people who are so enthralled. They want to find a human savior, and they see it, and they saw Trump being that guy last time. They see Trump now, avoiding getting killed, and now it could be easy for a lot of people just to start worshiping this guy, essentially. I
think people, even if he gets in office, I think there's going to be a handful of people who still vote for him in the next election, after this one. Even though I think it's written in law, you can't run 3 times, only 2 terms.
Well, I
think there's a lot. It's a really gray area, but if enough people vote for you, you'll still
FDR did 4 terms, and they changed things after. I'm not sure with the law and how much it is in between, how much of it is consecutive, and how much you're able to do just as a whole at the moment. I'd have to look into see.
Right. I feel like that's something I should know.
Non-consecutive, what it can be.
Yeah.
But my concern with especially Christians is to think that there is some kind of savior and not hold him accountable for what he's doing as, again, an American. And the times when there were when he's being extra constitutional, I think that this whole thing could happen where, again, I hear a lot of people, because again there's a duopoly that's going on. It's either the Democrats or the Republicans, and I think that most conservative Christians would look at the Democrat Party platform and say, I can't vote for that. And I understand that. And I can't see how you would. But my concern is with Christians who are just, honestly, they're looking for a human savior as much as the world is. And they see that in Trump. So they tend to turn a blind eye to that because he's our hero. And I have and maybe it's just I have a jaundiced eye towards all of politicians, because I personally, there's some really good people in politics right now, but as far as I'm concerned, they're the best of the worst of us.
Mm.
So the politicians are the worst of us. And so there might be some people who are actually have integrity. But again, they're the best of the worst at the moment.
Right.
They themselves as people might be better than that. But as politicians, again, politicians I have a very low opinion of, because the problem with politics is always that there's always a shell game quality to politics. So, but I think that one thing we can say for sure is that there's a lot of weird things going on with this assassination attempt. And I think that we have to take a close eye, because the media on both sides are going to be painting it however they paint it, and it's going to fit their narrative. It's going to fit what's going to pay their bills, and in the best circumstances. And otherwise, it's going to be just to push a specific narrative. So,
right.
but yeah, that's what I think is that. But I think it's important that we keep a close eye on Trump after this as Christians. After this, because we can't be idolizing him like I've seen a lot of people do.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's really, really inappropriate in my opinion as a Christian. Of course, you can't idol worship, but there are absolutely people who would otherwise call themselves Christians who basically idolize and worship the man. Like, I remember seeing a video of a dude, like, in his car. He's like, "Save me, Donald Trump. I'm praying to you, Donald Trump." It's hilarious. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but he got, like, his window broken and pulled out of the vehicle by cops. So it must have been genuine in some way.
Yeah. Well,
but like I said, there are people actually, like, worshiping him. I think there's a guy in India who's actually, like, worshiping him as a god. I think that's ridiculous. Hinduism is a whole, like, thing alone. Just paganism alone. Silly stuff. But
one thing that'll lead us to our next topic, though, is that I work with a woman who actually is Hindu, but she's from India, and she told me that the thing they like about Donald Trump is actually is that the fact that he is what they would consider fair on immigration, and so tough on illegal immigration.
See, that
fair on legal immigration.
So those of you listening, we were going to actually talk about immigration, but since the assassination attempt happened, I figured this took precedence, and Trump having that coming to Jesus moment really took a lot of took immediate. It was something we had to talk about immediately.
So we'll talk about that, but I think that's interesting that
absolutely.
She told me that, and because she and her husband are on a visa, work visa, but it is insane, the immigration process they have to go through. It's just insane, but they like it because he has a interest. He's at least showing an interest in making the legal immigration process easier and being harder on illegal.
Without getting too deep into it, I do think we need to put a cap on, like, legal immigrations every year, because we can't harbor the entire world in the United States. It's not feasible. I mean, we're seeing it with illegal immigration. Just think about if we take, even if they're working and they're taking, working honest jobs, there needs to be some kind of limitation.
There might be a cap, but I tell you what, if we stopped illegal immigration,
then a lot of problems will solve themselves.
Getting to a cap would be a long way away.
Right.
So, especially with the current process.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I do think it could be made easier in some ways, but I absolutely do think that there needs to be a cap, and we need to be taking in only the absolute best, the absolute most intelligent, most educated, best of those people. Because if we want to stay ahead on the global stage, if we want to stay ahead of China, if we want to stay ahead of Russia, which isn't too difficult from what we've seen in Ukraine, but if we want to stay ahead, we can only be taking in the best. Because we don't have the best. I mean, I see videos every day. I open up Instagram, TikTok or something, just people tweaking on fentanyl. It's not the best, people.
Well, that's the problem. I think we need to fix our own house.
Right. We need to.
That's what the focus on that should be.
Right.
I don't think we can just say we as Americans are are just crap. And therefore, we have to just bring in the best to make up for our lack.
Not to say that Americans alone are crap. It's just like
no, I think
we have many. We have the smartest people in the world in this country, but when you look at the people that are coming in, illegal immigrants, and you look at the people that we do have now at the lowest level, and people that are taking drugs, the worst of us, people that are taking drugs for recreational purposes, and people that are just not working. Americans alone, like full-blooded, born and bred Americans that are taking up those kinds of lifestyles, and whether it be because of their own personal decisions or the system that they grew up around, it doesn't really make a difference, because they're still just. It's just awful to see people like that.
Well,
and we can't be letting in more people that are just going to contribute to that.
Which I think we'll have to get into it more in the immigration conversation, because there's a lot more to that. And I don't think that Americans, as a general whole, are crap. But I think that the people that we have to take care, be taken care of. I'm not talking about supporting. I'm talking about if we get our house in order, then we will have a lot less to worry about trying to woo in the best and the brightest of minds for like technical reasons or reasons.
Even then, in my opinion, they should just stay there. They should fix their countries. Make yourselves like America. Change your system. Make your country better. Instead of coming over here, I want you to stay over there, not because I hate you and you're stinky and you poop in someplace that's not a toilet. I just want you to stay there and be smart over there and become a leader, just like what's his name? And what's it called? Not Dominican Republic.
Argentina?
Not Argentina. There is a lot going on in Argentina too, but where did MS-13 come from?
Oh, somewhere in Central America.
Yeah, whoever that guy. He was like a tech startup billionaire or something. He's really smart guy. Really smart guy. I mean, Trump has his own opinions on him, even like the Republican Party. He claims that he's throwing MS-13 gang members over here, but he basically rounded up all the gang members, and now it's one of the safest places in Central America.
Venezuela?
It's not Venezuela. Venezuela is still super dangerous and full of gang members. I'm sure it'll come to me later, like after we stop recording. I'm like, oh, this is where it's from. But people that are familiar know what I'm talking about. He got rid of all the gangs. He did have to limit civil liberties, which I'm totally against, but he did get the job done. And I guess you can do that. The culture is different. It's very homogenous where it is, so you can get away with things like that, I think. But he got the job done, and it worked out. But without getting too off topic, I want to go back to Trump having his Jesus moment, just to wrap it up. So just to reiterate, I hope that Trump had his coming to Jesus moment, and I really pray that he starts enacting, or at least acting more Christian in his way, because the way that a leader acts will reflect on his people on the global stage. It will inspire others to act like him and turn to Christ. If he goes up and talks about Jesus and says a prayer at every... He doesn't even have to do that. He doesn't have to. But if he does, great. Bonus. Awesome. But if he goes and starts every speech across the world that he goes to and has speeches there, has speeches here, does his press conferences, and says a prayer all the time or mentions Jesus, something. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I'm hoping for as long as it's real. I'm skeptical that so far Trump, again, like most politicians, they love to trot out their Christianity when it matters in the polls, but they don't like to live that way. So he's going to be, if this truly is a come to Jesus moment for him, and he's going to be living, he's actually going to come to Christ or act like it, then that would be fantastic. But it's just going to be another politician's Christianity, then I don't really care. And that remains to be seen. Because as far as I'm concerned, he is one of those Christian types who when I say Christian types, in that I don't think he was ever been a Christian myself from what I've seen, but I think
based on
he's
his
very
past,
sympathetic. His idea is like, yeah, I'm Christian because I'm not Muslim. I'm not, that kind of thing.
I'm Christian because I'm American, that kind of thing.
I fall into that because I'm not something else. So that's what remains to be seen of whether this truly is something that is impactful to his heart and mind, or whether it is something that, he'd be glad to be alive. And again, thank God that he can do that, but that doesn't mean that he is a Christian in itself. So it remains to be seen whether or not this is truly a come to Jesus moment for him. Maybe it was, and I hope for his sake. I hope for his sake.
I hope so. I mean, if I was that close to being killed and I just happened to turn my head at the right moment, I would absolutely know. It's like, oh, God just saved me there. Wow. Because I would have just died if I hadn't done that.
So hopefully that's the case. But I'm looking forward to the next time when we have when we talk on what we started talking about before.
So, you have any closing thoughts? We're coming up on almost an hour and a half now.
No, I think what'll be interesting is to do a follow-up episode in a few months' time.
Oh yeah,
when more
maybe closer to elections.
Closer to elections, but also more to see not only if there's more that came out about the assassination attempt, but also to sort of view how he is, again, what his spiritual level is.
Mm-hmm. So. Okay. I don't have any closing. I pretty much got everything out I wanted to say. So, that being said, thank you for listening. I hope you did like us going off topic a little bit, because we tend to do that a lot. And we're not going to stop because it's fun. So next time, immigration, probably what we're going to be talking about, unless something big happens again, because that was supposed to be the topic for today. But that didn't happen, obviously, because of what happened. I wanted to talk about Trump's coming to Jesus moment, if that was the case. I got everything. Anything else at all?
No, I think we've said quite a bit.
Awesome. So thank you for listening. And we will, of course, put out another video, another recording, and we won't see you, but you will hear from us next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.